Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Gaming Weekly.
That's right, Gaming Weekly, not daily. This week we got censorship scandal.
Namely, a game that, oh boy.
You don't have to say it, Adam.
Yeah,
I'll say it.
We just did a whole episode where all we did was say
I'll
that.
say it, that's fine.
Okay, namely, a game literally called Rape Day is not being allowed to be published on Steam.
Which is good. Plus, we have our review of Devil May Cry 5.
And Nintendo's diving into the world of virtual reality, which was some really unexpected Wednesday afternoon news.
That's true, but before we talk about that beloved, happy, family-friendly Nintendo content, let's go ahead and get ourselves demonetized on YouTube.
And done. Hooray. Basically, the game we mentioned earlier is a game developed by a studio called Desplant. It describes itself as a game where you can rape and murder during a zombie apocalypse.
Why?
Apparently, you can control the choices of a menacing serial killer rapist
Terrific.
to verbally harass, kill, and do things to women.
Oh my gosh. But when it still was up on Steam, it looked to be a sort of choose-your-own-adventure style rape simulator. Alana, you wrote this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Some parts of the community were wondering if that might solely exist just to test Valve on their keep Steam unrestricted policy. Oh my gosh, Alana, please.
So
Tell us
there
about
is
this.
some small amount of merit to that. The idea that people just think this is just to bait Steam. The developers wrote in an FAQ on their website, at some point in the future, game historians will look back on visual novels such as Rape Day as game historians look back on games such as Grand Theft Auto Now, or even the first time nudity was shown on television.
No, they won't.
So that does make it kind of sound like a test for Valve, but the reason I don't think that that's all they were out to do is because of a post that they put up on the game's Steam page titled Controversy. This is from February 19th. It said, despite what people are saying in the discussion, the game is marked as adult. It's for a niche audience. If it's not your type of game, you definitely don't need to play it. As others have said, I tried to make a game that I would enjoy playing, and there are other people like me. 4% of the general population are sociopaths, etc. That seems kind of genuine to me.
Sure.
Like, he legitimately just wanted to be like, okay, well, I enjoy the idea of sexual assault, and others do too, and if you don't, it's not for you.
I don't know that we should normalize sexual assault.
Yikes.
We normalize murder, Bruce. How are you okay with murder?
No, that's not true at all.
Contradiction, Bruce. I gotcha.
Not our place to tell you what to think, but make your own decision.
I'm just gonna say, I don't want to normalize sexual assault. I'm gonna say that.
No,
right
I'm
now.
cool with
I think
that.
a lot
not
of
being
people
in
will be
video
with
games.
you on that, Bruce. So to bring it back to Valve's unrestricted policy, they basically say a game will only be removed from Steam if it's considered to be trolling or if it's in some way illegal, which doesn't sound like this game is.
Yeah, or at least the developers are trying really hard to make it sound like it's not a troll, so their game doesn't get removed, which is what happened to Active Shooter, a school shooting simulator that Valve removed from Steam last May for that very reason. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, it's
Heavy.
It's exhausting.
It's a morning.
Yeah, and I get to do it twice. It's like my Groundhog's Day. It's great. From what they wrote on their blog back in June last year, Valve makes it sound like there's pretty much no other reasons a game could get taken down. Like what? But for why?
Okay, this is where it gets insane. Not that the game itself wasn't, but
Sure.
so Valve say, when it comes to what games they keep and what games they remove, Valve shouldn't be the ones deciding this. If you're a player, we shouldn't be choosing for you what content you can or can't buy. If you're a developer, we shouldn't be choosing what content you're allowed to create. Those choices should be yours to make. Our role should be to provide systems and tools to support your efforts to make these choices for yourself and to help you do so in a way that makes you feel comfortable. With that principle in mind, we've decided the right approach is to allow everything onto the Steam store, except for things that we decide are illegal or straight up trolling. Taking this approach allows us to focus less on trying to police what should be on Steam and more on building those tools to give people control over what kinds of content they see.
Okay, so when it comes to the game we were talking about on March 6th, Valve wrote another blog post saying, today we've decided not to distribute this game on Steam. But also added that because of that blog post from June last year, they should add some further explanation. Alana.
Yeah, that explanation was, much of our policy around what we distribute is and must be reactionary. We simply have to wait and see what comes to us via Steam Direct. We then have to make a judgment call about any risk it puts to Valve, our developer partners, or our customers.
Yep.
After significant fact-finding and discussion, we think Rape Day poses unknown costs and risks and therefore won't be on Steam.
Makes sense to me.
Yep, and guess what? People are mad.
Oh.
People are mad that it was removed from Steam despite their unrestricted policy, and of course, people are mad that a game that glorifies sexual violence exists at all.
Yeah, this basically feels like a really big mess that could be helped by Valve actually clearly laying out their rules, because right now a lot of their approach seems to be, well, we know something's bad if we see it. There's a solid chance the game wouldn't have even been developed in the first place if Valve had laid out specific rules against explicit sexual violence.
You can't stop crazy people from being crazy.
It would deter people though, I think, because they've removed a lot of games for this kind of thing, actually, like especially when it comes to children, which thank you.
Yeah,
but
sure.
if they had like that written down instead of being like only if it's trolling or illegal, then people might be like, oh, I'm not gonna make that, no one's gonna see my game.
Interesting.
Fair enough.
It's an invitation to test the boundaries too.
Yeah.
If you don't
More or
give
less.
kids explicit rules, they'll just do whatever they want until
Right.
they're told not to.
They definitely do seem to have a consistent issue with sex games, at the very least. Some games got banned last year for containing child exploitation, which was mostly young-looking characters existing in sex games.
Okay.
They also took down a bunch of porn games that had dumb names like Big Dick because they considered them trolling.
Apparently to determine if something is trolling, Valve gives a game a deep assessment starting with the developer's history and past associations or something, and even developers have complained about that process, putting them in this strange limbo where they don't know what to do while they wait.
Obviously, none of us here want to play a game called Rape Game.
Yeah.
The thought of the other people wanting to play a game called that is sort of fucked up, but this does shine a light on how opaque Steam's policies are. Maybe be a little bit clearer for everyone.
Yeah, ironically, Valve's hands-off policy has attracted the exact kind of attention they didn't want. GamesIndustry.biz reports that a few British members of parliament are now calling for a governmental involvement. Ooh, that's bad.
Tell us more about that, Alana.
A statement released by British National Party MP Hannah Bardell called the game utterly abhorrent and says it's time for the UK government to undertake a full review into how tech companies and gaming platforms, specifically Steam, are able to get away with this kind of stupidity. And then the First Minister of the Scottish Parliament, Shona Robertson, agreed, calling for UK government to strengthen legislation around this area. She goes on to say that she is delighted that Steam has rejected the distribution of this incredibly shocking game on their online platform.
Yeah, government regulation is the exact thing Steam and the games industry in general has desperately tried to avoid. That's the whole point of the ESRB after all. We'd rather regulate ourselves than allow elected officials who have never touched a video game to try and do it.
Yeah, and that's why Valve is in such a tight spot here. They want to dodge the accountability involved with making judgment calls on what goes on Steam and what doesn't, but ignoring the responsibility too long just leaves a wide open door for the government to start butting into their business.
Okay, please. Oh, yeah.
But there's something else that they mentioned in that blog post where they spoke about what they censor and what they don't, which is that it's really hard for them to figure out what would be allowed in certain regions culturally.
Oh,
So
okay.
part of it's it's similar to translating stuff. They're like, well,
makes
maybe
sense.
this specific thing would be fine in Japan, but it's not fine here, or it'd be fine here and it's not fine here. How
Right.
do they regulate one specific culture for everyone, and then does regulating it based on the culture in Seattle ruin things for everyone else?
Yeah, how micro do you get with it?
Turns out it's hard.
Well,
God damn it.
globalization's very, very hard, and-
Yeah.
and that makes a lot of sense. I feel like they're gonna have to just hire more people that have more intimate knowledge of each culture. So then that way, that
Yeah.
helps a little bit more. I mean, like,
That's
rather
a
than
whole
just
That's a huge
they
undertaking.
want robots to do it for them because robots are free.
that's true.
Well, not free. Yeah, this is the R&D. And
It's
stuff
just like, if only we could write an algorithm so we don't have to hire 100 people in every region to actually run this company that makes billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking, it's this culture of tech companies not being responsible for what happens on their platform that they created.
Yeah.
Damn it. It actually really frustrates me.
Yep.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, like YouTube, it's funny because YouTube is the same problem right now, and they also have been having to hire thousands of people to watch videos.
True.
And they're gonna have to keep doing it. All right, on a much lighter note. Let's move on to a much lighter note. Here we go.
Yeah, we reviewed Devil May Cry 5 on Inside Gaming, the other channel we do new stuff on. The full review is over there on that channel right now, but we thought we'd give you just a little bit of the meat here today. Hello and welcome to another Inside Gaming review. I'm Adam Kovic, your host, joined by Alana and Lawrence.
Hi.
Hi. We played a little game called Devil May Cry 5.
I feel like other than some minor issues with the lock-on, I don't have any complaints about the combat. I find it really, really fun. I feel like there's a solid amount of move variety. Some of the combos get pretty complicated, but not so much that it's hard to follow what they are. And the three characters play differently. So
Yeah, they play very differently.
Yeah.
I would just be getting used to Nero, and then they'd switch me to V, and be like, okay, another moveset to learn. I'd just be getting used to it, and then they'd switch me to Dante. So there was a bit of a, it was paced well enough, but it is that thing where like getting a triple S or an S rank in a combo feels so good that once you start doing it, it sucks to hit the reset button on that.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that all three characters do play fairly differently. Dante and Nero are similar. V is so different. Also, the cutscenes, I think it's the same director that did the cutscenes for Devil May Cry 3. So they're very cheeky, over-the-top action.
Oh, they're very fun to watch.
Yeah. The intro sequence where it's like the slow-mo van flipping and Nero sort of jumping around, the credit sequence, is awesome.
The core of the game, it is the combat, but I did find that the music is a lot of fun. It's like a fighting game or a hack and slash game, but also feels like a rhythm game in some ways.
A little, yeah.
Especially as Nero, because he's got that stupid motorcycle handle, and if you hit left trigger in timing with your attacks, it'll rev up the literal engine in his sword, and that makes you do more damage and unlocks new combo
Ridiculous
stuff, so.
anime.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting bit though. There aren't health recovery items anymore. You can't buy green orbs. You get them, but if you go down in combat, you just like pull a 3-point stance, and you can either use a gold orb, which is a continue, or you can spend red orbs to just resurrect on the spot. You get a garbage rank for continuing, so it's all about that. If you want an S rank, you got to play clean.
It does feel like an older video game. Like, Adam, you recently played Crackdown 3 and found it really fun because it's just a dumb fun video game.
Right.
DMC takes itself a little more seriously, but I think it is very reminiscent of older video games. There are a lot of things about it that are like old video game tropey, like getting into a room and having a red wall go up and you not being able to leave until you've killed every enemy. That's a really old thing that doesn't happen that much anymore. That was actually kind of nice to go back to. I mean, there are a lot of loading screens. That's a criticism that I have in between all of those.
It loaded really fast for me.
But there are a lot of pauses. It is quick. I suppose it's just that for me, it's like been breaking the flow of the thing. But in a similar way, it feels like an older video game in a way that I'm kind of enjoying.
Adam, you actually played a bit more of it since that video was recorded. Any updated thoughts?
Yeah, I actually was mostly a moderator during that whole thing, having not played it. I haven't gotten to it more. I finally got to the part where you unlock Dante, and it is as good as ever. Not that I'm a huge Devil May Cry fan. I am a fan, but I haven't.
You like the games?
Oh, absolutely, but sort of more passively. I'm not. It doesn't define my life for what it is, but. I feel like it still feels like a good, fun, solid fighting game. It definitely comes from a different time period, which I've seen some other reviews sort of poke at and say is bad, but much like Crackdown, I'm okay with something just sort of staying as it is and being the pure thing that it is, and it is fun. At the end of the day, it's a fun game. I don't really like V. I'm not crazy about him.
Yeah, I don't like playing as him as much as I like playing as the other two.
I appreciate what they're trying to do with him, trying to introduce a new character in this sort of, this combo fighting, adventure fighting game, but he's not really for me.
Do you just not like him as a character?
His character's fine. I don't really know anything about him. He looks like Adam Driver.
He really does look like
some
Adam Driver.
Sort of
He does, you're right.
like Superman that Alana conjured from a dream, but it's like, it's just, I don't know. Or if Alana and Lawrence could have the perfect man, it would be V from DMC.
I was gonna say, speaking of pretty boys, Alana wants to talk about how the prettiest video game boys are getting made by Capcom.
Actually, fun fact, Lawrence wrote that.
Lawrence wants to write
This
all right,
whole
Lawrence.
rest of the script is mine.
Go ahead.
The line that says, "Can we talk about how Capcom is making the prettiest video game boys lately?" was Lawrence.
I thought for sure that was you, but
The entire rest of it was me.
it's Lawrence. Lawrence,
true, though.
talk about the pretty boys.
I mean, Capcom's really on their game.
I think Leon's hot as hell.
Leon is hot as shit.
There you go.
Otto's hotter in 4. What am I saying?
I mean, he's younger in 2. You just like a little more grizzle. So I think the spread of pretty video game boys in Devil May Cry 5 offers something for every taste and predilection.
Which white guy do you like?
You know what? I would actually go Nero over V.
Yeah, but what about Nero Dante? Still Nero?
Still Nero. Yeah.
V at least would be, he'd listen to me, whereas Nero would be like, gotta bail, babe. And I'm like, you're just too edgy.
You're actually right. V would be better in bed.
Yeah.
This is something we
also,
haven't
you
brought
could
up.
beat him up because he's weaker than you.
This is really
He's probably very gentle when he gives head.
we didn't. He's very toothy though.
That nose too.
This is a very important game mechanic that we didn't get around to talking about in the review. V has a button that you can push to make him pull out a book of poetry and start reading it out loud.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and it's also a game mechanic. You restore Devil Trigger by doing it. So
he does that thing where he responds to people by reading and quoting poetry, which means he's probably not a very interesting person.
I hate that.
If you were to be
Yeah.
like, hey, so what were your thoughts on this? He'd go, Nietzsche said, fuck off. Like
Didn't
just,
Sephiroth did that though?
what?
Sephiroth did that, right?
Sephiroth?
Yeah. Didn't he occasionally just quote poetry?
I think that's the same complaint.
Yeah, but I will fight you if you say Sephiroth's not interesting.
Just because you have the same hair.
All right, finally getting to Nintendo. Nintendo! All right, Nintendo's
Yes.
getting into VR. Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Finally, yeah. But probably not in the way that you expected.
Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, they announced a Nintendo Labo VR kit.
What?
Do you guys remember the cardboard creation kit thing that came out on 420?
I do remember that.
Yeah. But how does it work? We wonder.
Yeah, Alana, how does that thing go?
So basically, it'll let you slot your Switch into a Labo creation for some makeshift VR. The main VR kit will cost $79.99 and includes 6 different staples, including a screen holder and a safety cap. The basic kit, which just has the goggles and a blaster, is $39.99.
Okay, as per usual, you can buy some of the additional accessories from the main kit, which also includes an elephant
Pardon?
And a camera for $20 a piece, so buying them all together is definitely the best value.
There's a bunch of other stuff. There's like just lots of weird toy things that I don't understand how they're all gonna work together, honestly.
I don't understand.
Maybe you need to buy it and find out.
Maybe I do.
No.
Thanks, Nintendo.
Yeah, it's hard to say how it's all going to work together, especially since it's 720p, but apparently
Yeah.
keeping it social is important to Nintendo.
Doug Bowser, the incoming Nintendo of America president, I love it, said in a statement, quote, "We wanted to design an experience that encourages both virtual and real-world interactions among players through passing around Toy-Con creations."
Nintendo did say back at E3 that they don't think Labo has reached its full potential yet, so maybe this is it. Or maybe there's more on the way. But either way, the VR kit will be available on April 12th.
Should we do a 420 stream with Nintendo Labo VR, guys?
It sounds like it's multiplayer somehow. Otherwise, I was gonna be like, that's just people high with cardboard on their face.
I mean, that's really what it is. I don't know. Lawrence, when does it come out? Does it come out 420?
April 12th.
12th, yeah.
Oh, April 12th.
So we'll have it. It's almost a year, yeah.
I don't know.
Cowards. We need to find a way to make it a little more visually interesting than a bunch of people giggling around a table.
Well, we need to actually play games this time.
yeah.
Like we got Tetris, we got other.
Well,
I love
we
that.
didn't know how long it was going to take to build any of those things.
I love that
It came
video.
out that day,
I
so
love
we
it.
unpacked
Yeah.
and it was like build time 4 hours. Fuck.
I don't know.
That was basically how that day went.
That's how long they take to build?
Yeah, they take a long time.
What?
And we were fucking stoned out of our gourds.
I was hoping it was like an hour build time that would turn into 2 because we would keep forgetting what to do and like not being able to like
what
put
happened.
tabs together.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The problem is James becomes superhuman when he's high, so
Yeah, I
it's
don't know.
fine.
That checks out.
He gets
actually.
funnier and he's more creative than ever, whereas the rest of us are just dead on the ground.
It's funny
He
because
just becomes a better version of himself.
I think it's the opposite. I think Adam laughs more.
Adam just finds everything funnier.
yeah.
I definitely got the giggles for that one. I'm usually just much more harsh on things, which is why I don't like that.
Ah.
I'm weird. Like sometimes caffeine makes me tired and weed makes me angry, but alcohol
Wow.
makes me happy.
That's it from this week, everyone. Have a good weekend. Check us out on youtube.com/Inside Gaming if you want your news daily rather than weekly, like we've been doing.
Fine.
what happens when you snort a Xanax bar off an airplane bathroom?
Hello and welcome to another Inside Gaming review. I'm Adam Kovic, your host, joined by Alana and Lawrence.
Hi.
Hi. We played a little game called Devil May Cry 5.
I feel like other than some minor issues with the lock-on, I don't have any complaints about the combat.